Yeah. Okay, now I'll switch to practice of architecture. What do clients want today? And again, how has it changed in the past few years, like past 3 decades? The same question.
Same question, actually, but it's easier probably because you're more developed as an architect. And so, in fact, right now I'm talking to you, not to anybody else. I think there are different typologies that one works in. A client changes when you're doing, let's say, residential level architecture. A client is a different animal when institutional architecture. And a client is different when you are dealing with, let's say, corporate bodies. So in the last two cases, the client in that case becomes a entity, not necessarily a human, or it becomes an entity composed of many humans. But I guess whenever anybody talks about that on a podcast, one is talking about the younger segment called house owners or residential architecture or people you directly interact with.
Yes.
As in the other ones, I think the expectations have only improved. They know what an architect does. The institutional client, the role of the architect is now far more than just providing service. It also includes the client's understanding in that case that the architect is a thinker of many things beyond the built space. They also pay better. But I guess you have to reach that bracket. People, it's kind of difficult to imagine as to how we'll reach there, but easy way is that you keep doing your work at the lower level and you'll reach there. And then, of course, they will have to do some good luck in between. As far as the younger ones go, I think it bothers me as to how a set of clients want visuals.
Only visuals.
At the end of the day, they want a building. At the end of the day, everybody needs character. At the end of the day, everybody needs quality. Everybody needs detail. They can differentiate between architectural practices which can perform and which cannot perform. But we are talking about, let's say, level field where the architectural practices that we're talking about are similar. So it bothers me to imagine as to how much interest, okay, let's call it Pinterest, social media is affecting the owner's aspirations. How many times I have to tell them that we don't make 3Ds, yeah, we make buildings. And they agree to that. They will, it's not as if they'll go to somebody who can. The pace at which things are required is hurting. It's a WhatsApp way of making building also now. Yeah. You send drawings on WhatsApp, people read them on WhatsApp. Million square feet of factory spaces, and I see the site engineer standing with a big phone and looking at the drawings on the phone screen.
Yeah.
Because the decision came in the morning, he didn't have the time to print. So this regularization, the what we in North India, North Indian architecture is different than let's say in Mumbai and Chennai. In the
Yeah.
North Indian Babu style of architecture, they've been doing work very correctly with proper drawings, proper specifications, proper system, revisions marked, etc. So we do it like a nice old Babu. That's changing it. Uh, that is two things that I think largely have changed. But the good news is that you get paid. There are far better paymasters today than they were before.
And why do young architects keep complaining that the client does not want to pay? I mean, why is that then?
It took me 15 years to be comfortable in asking for money from people. Now, let's say I was very dumb. Why do you want to do it in less than 5 years? It's a social interactive process. I'm a younger architect. The profession has trained you in doing architecture. It's not trained you into being a good businessman. You have to learn that. And you have to learn that in a way that it goes tandem and parallel with your architectural abilities. The first time I saw an architect say something on the phone like, हाँ भाई साहब बिल्कुल आ जाएगा ये वो some stuff. अच्छा एक काम करिएगा 5 लाख रुपए भिजवा दीजिएगा. I was like, "Yeah." And that was many years back. 5 lakh rupees was a lot of money. I was like, yeah, so easy to ask here. But that clarity of thought, that confidence of asking money came with his abilities to deliver. We may be able to do it now. So, not like, beginning of the talk, yeah, very nice talking to you, this, that. While we are working on this, send some money. I'm talking about this segment of people. I'm not talking about institutional architecture, of course, the other kind of architecture. But younger architects ask themselves how many of them can provide the, first of all, we don't use the word clients, we call them owners, clients with the confidence that their work will lead to a product.
Mhm.
When you go to a senior or a developed practice, and a practice composes of young architects and senior architects, owner is certified, he's insured, he knows, he's convinced that there will be a product and there will be a quality product. The fact that I know people, practices which charge, say, a crore and a half of Indian rupees for designing houses, well, I can't be them. I have to get there to get that kind of money. And today that, the drift, I mean, it takes time.
No,
So
I
what I might say,
understand.
Yapil, is grow your ability to deliver, and
Yeah.
you will get taught easily into how to get the returns.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Architects are blamed for having huge egos, and we know it's right, which goes against the fundamentals of the service industry, where the client is supposed to be the hero. I think I remember you speaking on this particular subject, architects and their egos.
What's an architect without an ego?
That's
Architects
actually
have
very
to have
confusing for
egos.
me.
Yeah. Sorry, the architects have to have ego. I, on the other hand, think that architects should develop egos,
Hmm.
more profound ones, more based on their capabilities, much more than what the market or people blame them for.
Are you talking
Yeah.
about ego or are you talking about self respect?
No, I'm talking about ego. I'm
Okay.
purely talking about ego. There is a word, a defined word called architect's ego. It's a noun. It means something. It means now a ego born out. All egos are not egos. I'm not egoistic about my car driving skills. I'm not egoistic about my many other things I do in life.
Hmm.
I am egoistic, and the only ego which matters for discussion is my ability as an architect.
Hmm.
And intrinsically, I'm very happy learning from carpenters, everybody. But then there is a system that's developed as to how my rule, my word is the last word in a certain kind of environment. Couple of days back, a car client owner got ticked off because he was asking me how much right do they have in changing the designs or the elevations of the buildings.
Okay.
And my answer to the person was that we are on the same side of the table. We have to discuss this then and come to a conclusion. But truthfully, it is my turf. So I can hear you, you can hear me, but the decision would be mine.
Hmm.
It is my turf. I can hear you out, I can explain to you my logic, but ultimately the decision would be mine. Now, well, it sounded like a ego to him because, as he said, it's your way or the highway, which I laughingly said, yeah, that's true. But then what else is, how else is it possible?
When I talk about the subject, architect's ego, it comes with the fact that the client is stupid. He doesn't understand what an architect is.
Yeah. So I think ego it cannot be synonymous with stupidity.
I'm talking about the opposite of being empathetic to the client. I
Mhm.
mean, we are using his lifetimes. In most cases, it's their lifetime of savings, right? That they are putting in a house, and it's a dream house for them. I'm talking about the residential
Yeah,
and the that kind of scenario. So, I mean, how can we not listen to their ideas? I do understand we have had the discussions, and it's our expertise, but after all, they are the ones who have to use the space. Does one tackle that situation then?
yeah. So if you're being empathetic to the owner, considerate of his preferences, your happiness is also a factor of my design.
100%.
Right.
Yes.
Now, my architectural wisdom has many factors to consider. Your happiness being one of them.
Right.
But my knowledge that your decision or your want or your fancy would lead to a product which you will not be happy with or which will be detrimental to the building,
It all comes down to
have an ego
uh,
based on taking the onus of the responsibility of the product.
Hmm.
कल को मैं वहां पे
Huh.
I take the onus of the good, of the bad, of the honor, of the dishonor, of everything of the building. And therefore, I have to take decisions in the interest of everybody, especially in the interest of the product.
Yes.
If I do not make a good product, I cannot be friends with the owner. I cannot do, as I say, all my friendships are, if anything jeopardizes the product, it cannot be allowed.
Yeah.
And that includes the client himself.
Yeah.
Now I know I'm being little this thing, but you're empathetic with the person, you do listen to them, you do give them fair hearing, you do try that you assuage the egos. That's a part of your soft skills there, how you manage that situation. But to your question as to how to manage this, make your base stronger, know what you're doing,
A fair reasoning.
and develop your reasoning on a daily basis. If you
Yeah.
reason just the way you used to reason last year, then your foundations are not going stronger. The fact that people listen to, let's say, his contractor, or people listen to Charles Correa is not just because of the name. That name developed out of
Okay.
a set of products, a set of developments around themselves.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Got it, got it. So basically, you are trying the architect's ego in the sense how much confidence you have in your abilities as an architect to take decisions.
Yeah, your knowledge base, your developing knowledge base.
Yeah.
I teach in school also, school as in college. It's not enough to say I wanted it to be so. You have to be able to reason it out to me in proper words and proper thoughts as a teacher, as to that you want the fluidity of the form in a way that it relates itself to the fabric which is behind and has a reflective possibility to the water body in front. You have to be able to explain it. I'm not taking, I want it. There's an
Yeah.
answer. Now,
Yeah.
that's the same thing which I expect an architect's ego to be developed on. Your
Correct.
ability to know your job. If you know it, and then you will be probably having no problems wielding it.
So my question was coming out from the situation where architects don't consider even the good opinions given by clients and just saying that this is how I want it.
No, I think I think these are about frail egos. You know, besides the word architect's ego, there is also frail egos. If you are able to step outside of yourself and look at the project as a entity
Yeah.
which you are which is finally going to have its own life, then doesn't matter where the idea came from.
Right.
Architect ideas come from everywhere, not just the owner. Ideas come from carpenters, idea come from contractors, idea come from everywhere. I think ideas have no ownership, and the architect is the arbitrator of ideas.
Ringmaster.
An arbitrator will be a very wrong person if he does not listen to everybody's views. Good idea comes from, I have a friend, owner, client who does this lovely, fantastic thing. I'll tell him something. After 10 minutes, he'll tell me the same thing. And I said, wonderful idea. I'm not going to name him. And I let him believe it's his idea. How does it matter? Every idea that goes into his project is his. He has a tendency of forgetting them 10 minutes and believing it is his idea. So in a way, I must have done a good job with him. He believes my ideas to be his.
This idea. No. Wonderful.
To the younger people, I think, these are all words which are complex. Depending on what you're thinking of as architect's ego, what you're thinking of as us and public, these are common nouns.
Yeah.
Like for instance, there was a time gregarious was a word which we used to learn in younger years. We did not understand the meaning of gregariousness. It's a word to be understood. It's just not a word to be learned. Similarly, many architectural ideas are require time to be built. So don't take them so seriously right now. If you give yourself that much of time, you'll learn each of them. You have to empathize with those words. I know, last time as you mentioned when I was talking to Prateek, I do tend to sometimes think of this entire conversation as to whether I am trying to put everything into a large pedestal of everlasting hope, while people probably want stuff in bullets. in underlined. But the truth is that bullets and underlining are not an architectural way of thought. You have to have subjectivity. You have to understand what time means. If somebody says 3 years, 5 years, I don't know. Certainly does not mean 1 year. If you don't learn wisdom in 20 years, you're not learning it now.
Right.
Yeah. Sorry.
I want to talk about the practice of architecture a bit more. I see multiple architecture firms, even the older ones, either completely failing or just hanging in there. So, what can upcoming architecture firms do differently so that they don't land in the same situation?
Okay, listen, the practices did not flounder. The past practices did not flounder because of the reasons stated by you. They floundered because they were not able to think of practices as beyond themselves. Most of the practices were idiosyncratic, individual based.
Individualized,
So
yeah.
it could have forever been fed on cheap labor, this, that. But if we realize that architectural practices are not about architects only. Instance, you asked the question about SK versus Sudhir Khandelwal architects. And today, the practice is not what I do.
Yeah.
There's an effort of everybody. And that effort, as a first generation architect, I probably have the responsibility of applauding, encouraging, being remunerative, etc. But after a while, a practice to survive has to become an institution.
Okay.
And institution does not only mean that it has bookkeeping. It has to have, like one of my favorite learned architects says, is that you have to have a DNA in an institution, a particular kind of thought of the way we do, the way we offer coffee, the way we talk to our owners, the way we deal with corruption, the way we deal with architecture, our responses to architecture, our responses to urbanity, all of them become similar in our institution. And that's when it becomes an institution. If you want longevity for your firm, as soon as you get a DNA as an institution, like many times say that we are developing an institution. We have our own line of thought. It's different than the Apathy School of Architecture or the School of Applying in Architecture's thought. Because fortunately, unfortunately, they don't have a thought. But at least we have a thought. We know that architects should be well dressed. We know that architects should be healthy, good looking. I don't say this jest. There are people in my office that kind of go after the live, yeah, gym jana shuru karo, yaar, whatever. You can't. So we have a whole DNA and of thought. And that includes making money. That includes, how we grow in another year. Once you become an institution, for that, what is important is for the people who initiate the making of the institution to be not selfish.
Hmm.
You have to learn how to share your money. Not the money, but share the returns. The returns are not just money, the returns are accolades also. The returns are the social dignity that you share what you get, and you will develop people who would like to share more of it. And then one day they will become contributed to it. And so at one day you will sit back and earn through it. It's a very good business idea.
Yeah. I do understand what you're saying. I mean, see, in theory, it sounds so good, right? But how does one make it happen in practicality? I
I
mean,
can tell you, I
yeah.
can tell you, SWA, a company which I am acquainted with in US, is in its third generation. They have 5 offices. Each office consists of about 5 to 15 people. They have principal by rotation, which means there's a head of the office who
Principal by rotation, you said.
by rotation. So, of course, they have 3 categories of architects. You stay there for some time and then you become a part of the system. Every year, you get a certain amount of holding in the company. That holding can be sold to the same company, sold to somebody else.
Right.
These 3 levels of architects, one who are the principals, the second body, the third body, one aspires to be the next. And in the highest body, the owner of the company I was with in India for a project, and he was cribbing because owner means this one of the founder owners who started the company. 85 years old Richard, he was cribbing because the office manager, or let's say the accountant, Monica, was not passing his CD bills,
Acha.
which means that there is an office organization system in which the manager, assistant, or whatever, the office manager can tell you, no, no, Richard, I can't pay you for his bills, even if you're the owner. Which means the ownership of the company is diluted, is not diluted, is
Ha,
held by
but
many
more
people,
owners.
more stakeholders, and give everybody a way to grow into the company. Let them believe that there is a future in this. There's a side to this that the practice should be together, attracting so much work that you cannot attract that kind of a work individually.
Yeah.
But once you attract that body of work, when you realize that, and it's not going to consist of everybody who comes into this bandwagon, it's always going to be a few people. You realize the power of together, use that power to generate more and then to share it. It's a worldwide phenomenon. That's the way. See, unfortunately, post independence, going through all times of uh, ration ki line and resources being less. So those times were different. People probably wanted to build farmhouses for themselves and big cars for themselves. The idea of sharing it or making an institution out of the practice did not exist. And such amazingly large body of work, each practice which eventually does anything becomes a library of works in the mind, in the resources, in the networking. And the day the main guy believes that he's not working, falls flat. Such a loss. Such a loss. I always so wish that it was always transferable. That's the model. Grow larger architectural practices. We are, say, 10 people company. We aspire to be 25 people in the next 10 years. 25 stakeholders. Hopefully, I leave that at 25.
Yeah.
Imagine what the 25 can do. I started from zero.
Yeah.
They have the strength of 25. They have the body of work of a generation. They have the
Yeah.
resources, the empanelments, the stuff. So they will be starting at some different level and compete with each other gainfully,
Yes.
gainfully.
I think that's some very genuine food for thought for everyone here.
I've been kind of telling this to younger and elder architects too. At the risk of there are people who are elders, जिनके सामने elders among architects whom I cannot pontificate to. But I've told them many a time, sir, I wish you had rather given me the practice, made me a part of the practice rather than today shutting it down.
Hmm. Yeah.
I mean, what's in a name? Today, SK is SKA. People around me that name. Chalta hai.
I was visiting one of the firms in Bangalore. So they said, ki, see, the main problem with us is that we are not able to pay architects. That's why we only hire freshers. And what happens is after a year or so, they leave.
See, a young architectural practice does not grow on other architects. It grows on the steam and spirit of a few. And for anybody who wants to be a startup, there must have been another word for it at some point in time. You have to be ready to put in that steam of what you guys call bootstrap these days to get it to a level where you are. Even today, I am the fastest drawer in my office. I still consider drawing my work. The day I don't draw on AutoCAD for less than 5 hours, I think it's a wasted day. You have to reach that minimum threshold and be always. Size of a practice does not dictate, but size of number of people does not dictate the quality.
Right. But what I'm saying is the attrition.
Critical mass theory always is important. Making the economics work at a lower level is much more difficult than making it work at a higher level.
Hmm.
Earning your first lakh rupees is far more difficult than earning your next crore rupees.
Hmm.
So there's no rocket science to this. The first initial critical mass has to come. We didn't have an air conditioner in a time in
Yeah.
our office once upon a time. To think that we had to build through those things, well, that's part of why this company carries my name. That's the fringe benefits of the effort that I've put in. But having
Yeah.
reached that critical mass, now it should be made to grow. So we were discussing about how to make it grow after the critical mass.
Man.
Before the critical mass, don't hire anybody. Or learn how to do everything yourself. Learn how to develop relationships, not just with fellow architects, with engineers. Some of the best things that I've done as a younger person is my relationship with my engineers. We are the same engineers for the last 35 years. We grew up together. Like I said, यार बुड्ढे को लेने का क्या फायदा है? मैं मर जाऊंगा तो तुम मर जाओगे फिर नया ढूंढना पड़ेगा. So all of us are friends. My engineers, all from amazing places, they can build anything I can conceive.
Man.
Until today, as I said, building nikal aayegi is because of my relationships with those times. I think that bootstrap time is a different time. And anybody who wants planning to put up an institution which survives beyond them, please listen to me carefully. The bootstrap time or the getting the critical mass time is not less than 30 years. It's only after that you can believe that you can take this next step of having permanency in offices, of having some comfort. So if you're aiming to make it in less than 30 years, it's not happening.
I listened to you this time.
Sorry. But yeah, I wanted you to. I know I was kind of probably startup. I said, you start is an amazing move. Failure is not. Sometimes you have to start just so that you can fail. And it's not that you have to fail. It's not failing. It's adapting. If you start struggling against time, if you believe that things have to happen in 10 years, 15 years, you are always running against time. Same in buildings. As I tell other owners, clients, let's say, you can't fight with two things, budget and time. No amount of management can make a building which takes 9 months into 7 months. It cannot. 9 months is 9 months. But yeah, 9 months should not become 10 months. It's like, so it's pretty much natural. It's like a human thing. Yeah? You can't like, a baby has to take 9 months to get out. So why fight it? Enjoy it.
I think wrap it up now, although I had few more questions to ask you, but it's already almost 2 hours now.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'll wrap it up now. I personally loved the conversation. It was wonderful. We discussed the state of architecture and I got very good ideas for my startup talking to you.
Don't be in a hurry to execute an idea. An idea is a germ. It exists in your brain. Let it be there. It has its own life. It will grow. As long as you allow the idea to come into your brain, just allow it to be there. The fact that you allow it to be there is, I think, a end of a good conversation. Because it'll have its life, it'll grow, it'll manifest itself.
Right.
So I'm glad you are believing that we've had some ideas that you can retain. I also have some ideas which I can retain. But I will also encourage you into going beyond architects and education. Those are elementary stuff of our profession. And to enlarge yourself to architecture. I would be very happy to discuss with you on some podcast and some time as to why did this particular public design come out correct or not correct. We should be judging architecture and many other aspects of architecture.
Yeah.
Because it's happening, but it's happening in closed groups. I mean, again, I can't name things. I'll be thrown out of all the groups after your podcast comes here.
Lovely. Thank you so much for giving me the time.
Thank you. Lovely talking to you.
Lovely.
And as little as I could understand through your LinkedIn profile, where I stalked you to understand what you're doing, and certainly this 2 hours that we've had, I'm very happy to see you. As I keep saying, you see, I teach. The academic part of me exists only to be able to create competition for myself. I say that in school. You see, architects are the only community which creates its own competitors, or should. Because if you don't do well, I don't exist. It is a continuum profession. It's not like many other things where individual glory is what matters. It matters in ours also, but we are a part of a chain of development. If the profession takes a beating, we've come a long time from the time when architects were only Naksha Navis to a place where we got invited and we got social credibility. We were given introductions as architects, as an honorable thing to do. It happened through the efforts of a generation of architects. Abhi Brahman, Charles Correa, lots of people, D.V. Doshi. Architecture grew into stature. Today, I am at that age, me and my peers at the age where we should be responsible for leading the profession into other direction. For that, I will require a younger lot of people to hold the baton and take it forward. So I'm very glad to meet with you, Saumya. I hope you become the people we want to give the baton to.
Yeah. Even I hope to do that. Let's see.
Yeah, do that.
Thank you so much for tuning in. If you found Converse valuable, you can subscribe to the podcast on YouTube and Spotify. You can find all past episodes and know more about us on Insyd.ai. See you in the next episode.